Welcome, Red Cube listeners. You're very welcome to the latest episode of our podcast. I'm delighted to welcome a global speaker on AI, founder of AI Ireland and the awards there, Mark Kelly. Mark, you're very welcome. How are you?
Cathal, doing really, really well. We had the AI award, which we're really excited about. So it was our biggest and best. Yes, but I've got a little bit of a head cold and a cough, but I'm a soldier. I'll keep going, so don't feel sorry for me.
You are a soldier, Mark. We appreciate it. What year now is it for the awards?
It's our 6th year, so we've been going since 2018, and it's consistently got bigger and more popular. And we've been quite lucky. It's been in the media since the start, but this year we were across all media, even international, and I think I was saying to you, with 150 on the waiting list, we had to close the doors and turn people away from very established companies. So it's not something that we do every day, but it kind of just shows the appetite and excitement for what's the whole world of AI is at the moment.
It's great, Mark, and you're very much hitting a hot topic at the moment, right? Of course, right. For our listeners, you might give just a brief background on yourself, Mark, and I suppose how you came to establish AI Ireland.
So I'm 17 years in the world of technology staffing. About 11 years ago, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I was having a conversation, will I leave, will I not? My previous employer, and the agreement was, if you're going to leave, you better leave for something that's going to make money and pay the mortgage rather than just leave and just try to figure it out on the fly. So over a 6-month period of time, I interviewed 84 people on the island of Ireland who are in the world of AI and cyber. I just said, is this a market? Do you think this is something that we can turn into a recruitment market in the future? And 2018, there was still hype, but it was nothing to the extent it was. But out of those interviews, I felt confident that we could turn this into a good staffing market. And we co-founded a company called All This, office in Dublin, Glasgow, New York, and Austin. Got about 50 people. And we do contract to permanent in data science and also a kind of a niche of service now. And what I noticed in Ireland was there was a lot of silos. So out of the 84 people I was interviewing, literally across the hall from each other, people were working on similar projects and they weren't sharing any advice or insights. And they were walking by each other. And I was thinking, this is crazy. So I created a not-for-profit entity. I took 50 of the interviews, made them available as podcasts for people to listen to. Really simple idea. What's the business problem? How have you used AI to solve it? What's the impact? And that's grown to now over 200 episodes. And we kind of did blog posts, answering kind of frequently asked questions, and that turned into kind of quarterly events. We had our award ceremony, which showcases best of AI across small companies, large companies, people of the year. And since then, we've had over 650 applications for the AI awards, which I've read every one myself, but I haven't judged it all, so I'm impartial on that. And then we've got several hundred blog posts. We've got an EU AI Act hub. So we try to make the content as accessible as possible and just get rid of the acronyms and the kind of arrogant terms that can be kind of an awful lot of the marketplace can show. And that gives me personally a lot of energy. There's some overlap on the recruitment side because some of the people that we might be helping on a training or development or giving them some insights, or I'm booked for a speaking gig, they might come back and say, listen, we want some hiring in this field. Could you help us out? But that was never actually the core goal of it. The core goal was actually just to educate and get some kind of proper sense out there, because there's a lot of BS, as you can imagine.
Those acronyms can sometimes feed into perhaps a little bit of fear around topics.
Absolutely.
Do you find that, Mark? The language we use and that?
I was at an event in Trinity on risk a couple of weeks back, and we had some top professors speaking about it, and they're so articulate and they're wonderful at what they do. But for your average punter who's sitting thinking, how do I going to use this for my business? How do I get involved in it? Out of the 700 interviews I've done in the world of AI, very few even agree on what AI is and what AI isn't, right? So it's a big, huge mosh pit. And every 72 hours, and I know that sounds like an exaggeration, but it really is, there's a new significant update now in AI. So for a lot of people, they've got just, it's like a kind of a hose into their face of information, and they don't even know where to start. So what we try to do is try to simplify things and get people on the road to using the technology that's applied to themselves and break it down into storytelling. And if you do that, people start to feel a little bit more confident about it and they move out of that kind of fear.
So almost adopt an element of it, right? And the audience largely, Mark, is people and culture, HR, right? So
Yeah.
give us an idea as to maybe an area where you could start, right, from a HR point of view and adopt it. And then I guess is it you build a bit of confidence then?
Yeah. So the work that I've been doing with HR professionals, like for the training or kind of workshops, massively under pressure. They're stressed out of their head. They've got people issues every different angle. Mental health seems to be a real challenge as well in the workplace, and they're just under resourced. So what I say to people is I don't think that's I don't think that's fundamentally achievable to continue on this path. So I kind of say there's three areas to go. There's recruiting, onboarding, and performance management. There are three areas where you're not reinventing the wheel. There's use cases in there, right? So from a bigger area, AI is very successful in customer service, HR onboarding, offboarding, and sales and marketing, right? So thousands of case studies of doing that well. So I would always say to people, don't try to do something different. If there's case studies of success, just copy those case studies. So on the recruitment side, you could have kind of screening. That's going to be a little bit slicker. Ironically enough, it actually reduces bias. We already kind of see the hiring time significantly drops from that. Onboarding, you're having more personalized workflows and chatbots involved in the process. So, Cathal, if you start a job and I start a job on Monday, and I am doing onboarding, which is documentation, my laptop's broken, I don't get my passwords till Wednesday, versus the other person is in the team's call, ready to go with their team, high fives, they're feeling energized. The statistics show I'm going to churn in the next 6 months. So what we try to do is help them get personalized workflows that make it really consistent and transparent, make it easy for hiring managers to know where to start in terms of putting in a rec, hiring a role, and then having these chatbots that you can train on your own business data across every different domain that are really engaging that you can respond to. So
Let's get into that, Mark. So let's
yeah,
think about that onboarding piece, right? So,
yeah,
and you know how important that is, right? Your onboarding experience. Give us a specific then about how AI is.
yeah. So let me give you an example, right? So let's say somebody is joining ABC Limited, right? They might have to read 100-page documentation. They might have a HR person go through certain things with them. You can take that 100-page documentation, you can upload it to a large language model, let's say OpenAI, ChatGPT bot that you call HR Onboarder, and you can talk to that, you can engage it, and all that specific data set, you can just ask questions. And working on those questions and answers you'll get, they're specific to your company. So people Monday to Friday outside of regular hours can get access to this information in real time. You can go a step further. You can have a digital human, which looks exactly like us. There's a lag of about a second and a half, right? So there's that kind of canny valley still. So it's not perfect. We can ask questions to and fro and it will respond back. And we've seen in the city of Amarillo, they've got so many different nationalities that don't speak English. They put it all online for their government services where you've got this digital human doing that. So suddenly, if you're doing that across every division of a company, you're in a really, really good place to start to save time and energy. And what we found is people actually much prefer asking about pension, sick pay, to an avatar that isn't going to be a bit peed off that they're asking these kind of silly questions where it is not higher end. And this is then freeing up other people. So that's one which I really, really like. The second one I really like is, let's say, the contract review. So let's say you get in a contract, legal contract, you've got procurement involved, account involved. It could take 2 to 3 weeks to get it turned around, red lines. You review the 2000 contracts you've had before. You look and say, actually, this contract is similar to the contract we had before. Insert this immutable text. Everybody's going to agree with this because we've done it before. And that's done. There's a company in Sandyford who's gone from 2 weeks to 22 minutes reviewing contracts. So if you're kind of clever with the use case, you don't try to do too much with it. There's low-hanging fruit that people can actually start to tackle. And I love the onboarding piece because, Carl, you remember when you started your first day of school. I was crying the first day of school. I always remember that experience. Now, next couple of days got a little bit better, but I was crying. You want to have a really, really nice experience for your employees because we all remember that first day, right? So this onboarding kind of removes the friction, adds more kind of adds more of a kind of a personal element in terms of it's more specific to you because you can really add in specific details to you, but also allows you to get more human with the more important conversations that we find in the world of HR you can't do because you're trying to do everything else.
So busy doing the other pieces. You said something there, Mark, that really interested me, right? So we presume, right, that when somebody is like, I don't know, about to be hired or is hired or that they're only thinking about their new job from 9 to 5 and we're only available from 9 to 5 to answer their questions. But actually the technology is there for them whenever it's on their mind, right, to work through the questions they have.
But if you think about it, right, either you're dropping your kids to school in the morning, maybe you're dropping the kids to rugby or soccer at a certain time, and maybe you're waiting in the changing room, maybe you're having a quick look at the message, or maybe you're heading over to the doctors. You might just listen to that and chat to it. So one of the really interesting ways I've seen this done now is with the Google Notebook LLM, where you take the document, you upload it, and you've got two avatars who are really engaging, talking about a really dry document, but they're making it really easy for you to learn about it. And this is, again, multimodal difference of how you can actually start to engage. Now, if you're maybe in the kind of newer brand of people coming through, graduating, you're going to be more digitally native because chances are you get an Uber most places, you watch Netflix, maybe you make a purchase on Zalando or Amazon. So you're not really wanting to push the paper type environment. You want to have that kind of digital experience. And AI is really slick for that because ultimately what AI is, it's about personalization. And this is where you can then start to use this for your business. Now, one of the things that I speak to about, particularly in the hospitality industry, is that it's particularly challenging to get, the smart people who've got an awful lot of different opportunities. Payment is probably not as high in certain fields, or higher in other fields. But in this way, if you can show that you're enabling technology, you're going to advance their career by showing them how to use it, because that will then get them further career prospects either in your company or somewhere else. People will join you. So it's actually a really lovely enabler to get the best and brightest. And that's where I've seen some companies actually leverage that.
Interesting. So by actually embracing the technology, we're telling the talent market we're ready for you. We're telling the younger generation we're ready for you. We're not asking you to show up in a different way to what you're used to in terms of your personal and your social life.
Yeah, because think about it. We're now getting better tech at home as a consumer than we are working in an enterprise.
Yeah.
ChatGPT had 1 million users in 5 days, 100 million in less than 2 months. Like 90% of their sales are consumer, right? So people are trying out this tech all the time. So they're pretty savvy. So you've now got this shadow ChatGPT culture in your organization where they're using it. And vast majority of companies don't have an AI policy. They don't have an AI literacy program. And this is law by February. So, we really have to kind of remind people that if you don't have an AI strategy or an AI policy, your employees are creating one and now you have defunct because of their one. So there's a lot in there, but my advice is take control of it, set the narrative, and suddenly you'll start to become the employer of choice.
Yeah. And the third topic, the third area there, Mark, of performance management, right? A hot topic.
Yeah.
But what are you seeing out there in terms of performance management?
So I think for me, right, so you're trying to use this as a way for continuous tracking, right? So you've got your objective and then you've got predictive analytics around it and managing that. I think you have to be very, very honest about the assessment tools that you're actually using because an awful lot of them, when there's human bias in there, can be very, very, they're not really that objective, right? But if you start to use technologies that enable to allow people to go on that journey, it's a lot more transparent, right? And you can actually start to put flags in the sand the whole way through in terms of this is what we're said we're going to achieve. This is what I've done. Here's all the metrics that I can show. This is how we've done it. Now, here's a soccer example. So not necessarily as relevant to a lot of people, but I'll still say it. So when Kevin De Bruyne was looking for his new contract to Man City a few years back, he got rid of his agent and he hired in some data scientists, and he could show specifically on the football field through all the key data metrics why he deserved a new contract and a substantially increased one. And they went through all the data and they managed through all the data. And when you're making data driven decisions as an employee and an employer, an awful lot more trust becomes clear because you can show that kind of clean line of sight. So what I'm saying to organizations is that if you've got a true meritocracy and you want to be transparent and you want to kind of keep the best and motivate the best, you need to be allowing people to have insights into the data to allow them to be a lot better. And I'll just stick with another football example, right? But let's say you're coaching on the field and you're saying to a player, come on, you're not running as much as you used to do. You're lagging behind. And that player's like, come on, what do you know about it? But when you actually show them all the data of what they're running, how they're comparing to their colleagues, how they're compared to the competition, we see straight away people feel, okay, that's a better conversation. Now, if you can flip that into a workplace environment, you get a lot more confidence about it. And that's what I'm seeing day to day.
So is there a tool then because I like the idea of being able to show employees, right, managers, leaders, the data in terms of their performance. Is there a specific tool that's being used at the moment, Mark?
Do you know what? An awful lot of it. So ServiceNow seems to be a tool that a lot of people swear by. And there's a lot of positive energy around that tool in terms of having kind of key dashboards, very, very suitable metrics. They were they were acquiring AI companies probably about 8 to 9 years ago. And with all those acquisitions, they were primed for the world of AI that we're in now. So they're doing it very, very effective, particularly on the onboarding side of it. They're very good. They're also very, very good from kind of objective assessments. So trying to look at skills, qualifications, very effective at diverse merit-based hiring. So spotting those leaders or future leaders from insights from different reviews and things like that. So very, very effective. Work Human is another one I've been very, very impressed by. They were on the air on a podcast a while back where they were talking and seeing where they could see these high performers that you might not see. They're kind of diamond in the rough, but actually bringing them to the table and saying, you know what, we don't need to hire externally. We just need to put these onto fast tracks and looking at those kind of key metrics that are there because you find a lot of peers recognizing their performance is very, very good and then they can fast track for that. So I think that's particularly good. And then from a kind of strategic insights perspective, even the usage like ChatGPT is very, very effective where you can just say, act as if you're a strategic HR manager working in the automotive industry. We're this company size, we're this issue, we've having these 5 issues. Here's our employee feedback. Talk us through it. Now, obviously, that information will be anonymized, but that's a wonderful way to get a $15 billion HR strategic advisor to start supporting you, right? Is it going to be absolutely perfect? No. But is it going to give you wonderful insights? Yeah. So again, this is where I'm starting to see more and more companies adopt that, embrace that to do a lot higher value work.
When we talk about AI, we'll say with many HR people, Mark, like there's an awareness, right? We know we have to do something. Um, Often the piece is like, where do I start, right?
Yeah.
And you mapped it out there in terms of, build a bit of confidence, pick perhaps one area of the employee life cycle, and list the two. Um, how, as a HR person, like, how do I convince, we'll say, a skeptical CEO
Yeah.
around around this? Have you had any interactions with HR people just to support them?
Yeah, I have. So the first thing you need to do is tell them from a regulatory perspective, we need to have an AI policy and we need to do AI literacy training. So whatever happens, we have to do it. And you might say, but I don't have any AI currently. Well, we know 48 to 66% of your employees are using ChatGPT or the equivalent, right? So you need a literacy program. And before you get a literacy program, you need an AI policy, kind of like GDPR, this kind of thing. You need to sign it and you need to have a GDPR policy, which you obviously have at the moment, but you need to have an AI policy. Then you have your AI literacy training, which explains to you about what AI is, what it isn't, how employees can't be infringed upon, how employers can't be infringed upon. If you're buying a product or service and AI in it, you need to let everybody know. Because under the EU AI Act, you cannot be, using technology that can harm people or infringe knowingly or unknowingly. Also, if you are using the software and you've purchased it and then you're putting it onto your employees or your customers, you're then part of the problem and opened up for a fine. So from that standpoint, the CEO needs to recognize that, right? That's just your starting point. From a practical perspective, one of the ways that I've seen it as most effectively done is a lunch and learn on a Tuesday from 12 to 1. So let's say you've got a project management team in a company. On a Tuesday, let's say there's 6 people in the team. On a Tuesday at 12 o'clock, you divvy out 6 products. Maybe it could be Monday, it could be Asana, whatever it might be. You come back in 2 weeks and everyone's got 15 minutes to talk about the pros and cons of each product. And after that lunch and learn, a bit of confidence is going to grow. You're going to do it again and again and again for different products. You start doing that per department, people will start to feel a little bit of confidence in it. Now, if you create a little bit of let's say 3 or 4 people who are kind of a governance committee or kind of an ethical committee that are talking about if you can use it, when best to use it, and what we need to abide by, such as guardrails, you're now having more of an adult conversation about it. People know about the rights, about how they should actually use it correctly. They feel more literate because they know the pros and cons, but also they know hype versus not hype. And having that kind of rule to the road breeds confidence, but nothing breeds more confidence than pulling up the sleeves, start to use it, and then suddenly there's a bit of FOMO because Mark's hitting the golf course at 4 o'clock on a Friday, and he's not checking his emails during the weekend. And while Cathal over watching the match, he's more relaxed about it rather than checking the email as well, because they're using that technology as an enabler, and that's where FOMO starts to come, right? They go, actually, I want a bit of that action. So some people I know are doing 3.5 days a week in the world of sales and marketing versus their 5 days a week. Now, that may not continue because the bar will raise and expectations will raise, but for now, they're doing it. So it's just trying to start small and build it up. I could give you thousands of use cases about going big and bang and the investment. But if you're trying to get yourself up and running, that's what I would do.
You've given us a good, clear roadmap there, Mark. Mark, what's your view of just the golf analogy there triggered this? What's your view of the relationship between AI and well-being?
So there's some really good products out there that are helping to pinpoint when mental health starts to be an issue. So for example, what we find is if you're using a lot of I rather than we, and you can see from the text analysis when people are starting to crack down. And if you start to analyze that and anonymize it, you can start to see what actually this person needs a bit of help or support. Let's try to organize that where you can have a chat bot actually engaging with them and chat with them. We're on all the time. There's no switch, the access to technology as an enabler means we can work from home, but we're always contactable, right? So there's pros and cons of that. So I think that you need to have some type of guardrails and boundaries. Myself, people will be surprised, but I turn my phone off at the weekend and I've got a small burner phone that's got like a kind of, imagine a Nokia that has no technology on it. And that's what I use Saturday and Sunday, right? And that's my preference, right? People think that's crazy, but I like to be in the zone of just having kind of, dumb tech for that weekend and then I'm back on the horse, right? So I'm not saying you have to be as extreme as me, but I do think you need to be conscious that your life is being dictated by an algorithm. And that algorithm is showing you all the different types of content that you wanted to see. So I'm sure you're getting either Liverpool content or Man City content for that weekend. And chances are you're going to be looking at it all the time, or it's going to be popping up on your feed. And because it's personal to you, you will watch that. If I started sending you Chelsea football, you'd be like, get me off these notifications straight away. And that's a basic example, but we have to be cognizant that this algorithm is really playing a major part in our life. And to start to control that, you need to start to take ownership of that as well. So from a HR perspective, you need to put in those guardrails to say, listen, this is what we expect you to do when you're working in these hours, not to be outside of these hours. Our policy is this. This is what we expect you to do. And again, just coming back to that literacy piece, it's a wonderful tool, AI, but in the wrong hands, it can be very challenging. We've got, fake ads, fake messages. We've got avatars that are going rogue. So there's so many different challenges that come from it. From a cybersecurity perspective, people just need to be vigilant for that too.
Yeah, I love the I and the we sort of piece around language, right? As a sort of a trigger or an indicator. One of the areas that certainly organizations spend a lot of time on, right, is actually just the idea of communicating, right? So communicating messages and emails and all of that. What let's say from a CEO point of view into a large organization, what's your view in terms of using AI as a support around communication emails?
So bumper sticker is you can't say AI ate my homework, right?
Sure.
So I think we need to be really, really clear about that the book still falls with the person. But I'm seeing some really innovative ways how it can be used. So idea generation. So coming up with ideas about how to reimagine how you communicate. If you saw a couple of days ago, Klarna, the CEO of the payments company, he used a digital avatar for his investor roadshow. Again, perfect. Absolutely, you wouldn't even know it was. He was able to answer all the questions, ask any questions because it was trained on all his own personal data. And now that's obviously an extreme example, but you can start to communicate across 27 different languages by using these avatars to get messaging across. So it's really helpful for training and development. So let me give you an example. So if you know BP,
Yeah.
one of the things with BP is they're so focused on safety because, if you're anywhere near an oil rig, you can imagine how dangerous it can be. So simple things like driving into the BP car park, you have to reverse in. That eliminates accidents coming out. When you're walking up the steps or down the steps, you have to hold on to the guardrail. Simple things like this save lives and also save a lot of money. Now, every year they're doing videos that show people going into a car park and, like that. But now they can create those videos in any language you want in less than maybe 2 minutes within your branding. So huge cost save. But then also it's more engaging to the audience so you can dial up or dial down the rhetoric. And again, that's a wonderful way to start to communicate. But also you can personalize the messages, right? So the warehouse team doesn't necessarily need to hear about the sales team. So then the messaging that you can have, you can dial up or dial down. So reporting can be dialed up in terms of complexity or dialed down in terms of simplicity. And different stakeholders are going to get that. So again, you can start to control that narrative as well. So what we're seeing an awful lot of government agencies doing, such as Chagas, they're summarizing complex documents, putting up a summary, and then they're saying this is generated by generative AI. We fact checked all the information and it's correct. So there's wonderful ways to start to do it. But the worry is that you overthink it and you don't do it. But my kind of thinking is we're under so much pressure. Everyone is to do an awful lot more with less these days. So you need some type of enabler to help you. And I think AI is very effective at it.
So the policy, the literacy, get on the bus, try something, right? Build a bit of confidence.
Build a bit of confidence. You got the lunch and learn. From a simplicity perspective, there's go onto the AI Ireland website, 400 plus blogs. We got an EU AI Act hub. There's several books under the AI Unleashed, which basically are top 100 questions asked in each field, answered, A to Z glossary, and then some detailed use cases. So they're kind of like your idiot's guide to getting going. And after you read them, you're kind of thinking, actually, that makes a lot of common sense. That's really straightforward. And once you get into that kind of field, you're kind of like, geez, I'm actually a bit behind here. I want to get into it. And that's where confidence starts to come. But the other thing I say, Cathal, is there's never been a better time to get into this field because so many mistakes and so much money has been spent on it up until this point. About 600 billion has been invested in the last couple of years. There's 100,000 products and services, if not more, available for people to use. They're dying for users. It's kind of like buying €10 notes for €3.50, right? It's such a good time to get involved to try these products. So, start those lunch and learns, start going on the journey, and I think confidence will start to come on that.
Yeah, and will we start to see, Mark, or maybe you're seeing it already, like the head of AI as a role within organizations? Is that?
Yeah, we've been seeing that in the last couple of years. It's a very, very important role to get right, particularly with the regulation. If you've got products or services, AI is going to be weaved into them. If it's not, the CEO probably won't have a job much longer, right? So I think it's going to become more important. You're going to have a regulatory component to getting that right, literacy for the team. But you also have to remember your business has got so much data. And because you've got so much data, you can have that proprietary data and offer a service on the back of that because it's proprietary and people will pay for that. So how do you then take that into an AI product or service? And that's particularly exciting for a lot of businesses.
What's your thoughts around adoption, Mark? Like, what's your vision there? Like, how do you see it being adopted over the next 2 to 3 years?
So from an AI first perspective, when I say AI first, this is where companies are using AI across every single department. You're talking about 12% adoption. We're probably talking about 60 to 65% of companies, people in them are using AI for certain use cases, sales and marketing, Canva, using it for video generation, image generation. So loads of silos of those different products, right? So they just need to be kind of brought together under an AI policy. We've also got Microsoft Copilot, which has got wonderful applications of it. They've take some of the best work from OpenAI and put it packaged up into a trusted product. So people are going to start to use this. This is going to start to really roll out aggressively, like 12 to 18 months. So it's going to start to become like the norm. Now, the big thing that's happening is the world of agents, agentic AI. So let's say I've lost my phone and rather than going up to the Blanchetown Centre, I'm picking a new phone. I can ask my agent to go and check on my contract when it's up for renewal, come back to him with the best options. And this will be able to call up, explain that they're their agent, trying to get the best deal, come back to me, and then make a purchase on my behalf while the phone comes into my hands the next day. So those different types of things are going to become the norm, I'd say, by this time next year. And that is incredibly exciting, right? This is an incredible moment once that happens because the organization structure that we currently have with your job descriptions and things like that, that's not fit for purpose anymore for the majority of fields outside of being a plasterer or electrician or a plumber, which AI isn't going to go near anytime soon. You're going to be able to reimagine those job descriptions with people using AI and vice versa. So then you got a co-pilot. But if you think about a manager, sometimes managers are managing people and it may not be for them. So an awful lot of people will go down the principal route or the technical route or to stay away from the man management piece. Now you're going to be a manager of agents of agents doing different roles. So maybe you don't like working with humans as manager, but you might get a lot of energy working with agents. And that brings together a new role. And your colleague will be an agent. And suddenly you're kind of a hybrid. That's the team. So that agent does that. And that's where it's going. And when we do our workshops, we kind of talk through that. We kind of get companies prepared for it. So it's an incredibly exciting space. It's not an understatement to say if you take a week off, you feel like you're way behind. But businesses don't need to be as up to date as me. They just need to stick to the use cases that are applicable to them. Think about the opportunity to leverage their proprietary data and get an AI literacy program in place, and then feel more confident about, just getting on the journey.
Mark, you've been really clear there, I think, for us in terms of the steps, right? Because that's often the challenge, is kind of, how do I start? What are the steps I need to follow? Give us your details again, Mark, just for everyone, just so we can.
Yeah, so I'm Mark Kelly. I'm the founder of AI Ireland. So AIireland.ie, easiest thing to just do is stick in AI in Ireland and we'll come up number one. Loads of content there for people to listen to for free. If you want to get a workshop or speak about what's happening in the market or executive brief, we're there available. Easiest thing is to organize an AI literacy training or AI policy training, and we do that on site. And that will set you up for success. So some companies will ask me to come in and do an AI literacy training for the whole team. And then you feel like you tick the box from a regulatory perspective, but most importantly, you've got the conversation started to say, well, actually, how do we reimagine our company? And if people feel like they're on the journey to help with that, they won't be leaving anytime soon because they'll feel like they can add impact. And I don't know about you, but the vast majority of people I know want to be able to feel like they're making a difference with the work they do. And if you feel like you're starting to use tech as an enabler to do better work, most people want to go on that journey.
We want impact, right? We want to make a difference. We want connection, and actually, these tools are taking away some of the tasks that's stopping us from getting to those things, right?
That's it. Ultimately, that's it.
Okay, and that can only be a positive, Mark. Congratulations on the awards last night, 6 years in. I know it's a big undertaking, all right? We appreciate you joining us today and sharing your insights. Ask your agent to fix you a nice cup of tea now.
I will. I just need to get one that's reliable. But maybe this time next year we'll be there.
This time next year, Mark. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much, Cathal.